Welcome to our mindfulness meditation session of Monday, April 13th of 2020. Let us dive in our meditation as I introduce today's practice. So let us start by shifting our attention towards our breath as you allow your breath to gradually become deeper and slower, one breath at a time. See if you can breathe in and out only through the nostrils, and allow your posture to be comfortable yet dignified. So relax the shoulders and sit upright as much as possible, letting your feet comfortably resting on the ground. Continue to just breathe naturally without forcing air in and out of your lungs. Yet allow the breath to gradually sink deeper and deeper with each inhalation. And allow all this air just to go back to where it came from as you exhale until your lungs are completely empty. Try not to hold your breath. Don't struggle with your breath. Make sure it feels still natural. You're just becoming aware of your breath, not controlling it. Simply trying to let go of breathing compulsively. Just calming your body. You will allow yourself to find a more natural breathing cycle that is deeper and slower, yet even more natural than what you have been doing up until this moment. Naturally, distractions will arise in the form of thoughts, usually, in the form of sensory impressions, perhaps bodily sensations of discomfort or an itch somewhere on your skin, feelings of tiredness or restlessness. You might become aware of a noise somewhere in your house or outside that perhaps you weren't expecting now that you decided to sit in meditation, and there your attention goes behind this noise. Or perhaps you're noticing that it might be a little bit too dark or too bright, or too cold, or too warm in your room. Perhaps noticing that you're thirsty, or hungry, or sleepy, or in need to make a bio break. All these things will necessarily arise each time we sit in meditation. It's completely normal. So our job is to simply acknowledge what arises with self-compassion, with equanimity, that is, whether pleasant or neutral, you will acknowledge the same without being harsh to yourself. Notice if frustration arises and acknowledge that as well. Oh, I'm not doing this right. Oh, this is not a good moment, not a good day for meditation. Those are simply more mental processes taking place, like secondary darts are called in neuroscience. Just secondary impressions that arise once you become aware of a primary impression. Whenever you're ready, just return yourself to your breath. Last Monday, we brought our attention to how to manage anxiety in these days of social distancing. We mentioned that for some of us, these last few days, last few weeks have brought many unexpected changes, perhaps leading to more uncertainty than we are used to process. This wonderful mind that we have evolved so that we, not as individuals, but as members of a group, a community, might survive as we face old as well as new challenges. We now face a situation that forces us to stay away from one another and also to be more alert about protecting our own health. And this requires more thinking, more use of our conscious mind for things we don't usually think about, like washing our hands. The brain uses a lot of energy and therefore is always finding ways of saving energy. Given an event, the more unconscious the response to the event, the less energy the brain uses. But when something new and unexpected happens, like this pandemic, the brain has no shortcuts, no habits developed, and therefore every response, everything that we do, requires more effort. So if you're feeling inexplicably lethargic or fatigued, well, keep an eye on it. But no, it might be mental exhaustion. So let us help the mind walk out of this constant being in alert mode. At the same time, the situation deprives our mind from the interaction with others that research in neuropsychology suggests is essential for our well-being. Therefore, I invite you now to gift yourself a few minutes of this day to take care of yourself so that you can take care of others, in turn, who might need your help. Our goal today is to try to activate our neural pathways of compassion, altruism, generosity, even if you are alone at home, as a way of healing ourselves. Healing ourselves from the stress, the lack of energy, the anxiety, fear, the apathy, the lack of purpose, the lack of meaning, perhaps irritability, and even mild signs of depression that you might be going through. Continue breathing in and out deeply and slowly, always returning to the awareness of your breath. And if it helps, allow yourself to be inspired by the commemoration of Easter, which happened yesterday, a celebration of renewal, hope, spiritual regeneration, even in the darkness, in the darkest of times rather, in the most adverse circumstances, hope, and new life. So let us start. Continue to sit upright with the spine as perpendicular to the ground as possible. Sitting very tall. Extending the back of your neck slightly. Reaching a little higher with the crown of your head as if you were hanging off a string up there, and very gently someone started pulling that string up, lifting you up very gently. And soften all the facial muscles. Relax the eyes and the eyelids, closing the eyes if it helps, or keeping them half open if you can. Relax the mouth. Find the tongue inside your mouth and let it sink into the belly as if it were swallowing the tongue, relaxing the belly in that same intention. Relaxing neck and shoulders, letting your arms, the weight of your arms pull both shoulders down, bringing your shoulder blades slightly together, opening up your chest, relaxing the hands on your lap, relaxing upper and lower back, legs and feet. Those familiar with the Christian parable of the mustard seed may not know of another parable of the mustard seed that comes from the Buddhist tradition, when a woman in despair because her son had died goes to the Buddha, asking the Buddha to revive, to bring life again to her dead son. And the Buddha tells her to go one by one into each house and ask for the people in the houses to give her one mustard seed if they know no pain, if they are alien to suffering. As she goes one by one, knocking the door of each house in her village and in the next village, and she goes on and on for years. She is unable to find a single home anywhere where the people living in the house have not suffered, have not known suffering in their own lives. In the process, she heals, she becomes enlightened, and joins the Buddha as a Buddhist nun. This story often misinterpreted to mean that all is suffering, everything in life is suffering, is instead a story that is meant to help us refocus our attention not on our own suffering, but on the suffering of others. And the result is communal healing. Consider that promise that you shall be healed, or that this thing which you seek is to be found in others, in their homes, in their suffering. Imagine yourself as this suffering woman, visiting home after home in your neighborhood, your city, your country, a country on the other side of the globe. Consider going door by door, asking people about their suffering. Consider those you might visit today. Consider visiting before or after this pandemic. Consider asking someone you know. Consider asking someone you don't know. Consider the suffering of someone you like. Consider the suffering of someone you don't like. Consider the suffering of someone old today. And the suffering of someone young today. Consider the suffering of those who died before you were born. Consider the suffering of those who will be born after your death. Now envision all other people in the world, all other people in the world today, some of them at home, as well as those who still have to go to work every day in spite of the danger, like essential workers. Consider all the people in the world, the healthy and the sick, everyone today. Consider their suffering. Now reflect on yourself, but without judgment. Be kind to yourself and stay in the body, not just the thoughts, but consider also any physical sensations, feelings, emotions that may arise as you turn the attention towards yourself. Considering to what extent your suffering has stemmed from wanting happiness for yourself. Perhaps being obsessed with things, with food, money, supplies, to keep at home during the pandemic, struggling to get what you think will make you happy. Perhaps self-centered thinking. Consider, always non-judgmentally, whether you were hurting others in the hope of gaining happiness for yourself. Now let your mind wander to times in your life when you have benefited others with no consideration of what you would receive in return. How did that make you feel? How did that make them feel? Or how you think they felt? Now consider a problem, an unpleasant situation perhaps which you're experiencing today, maybe as a consequence of this pandemic. Try to bring one to mind, anything. Anything that's bringing suffering to your life today. Now imagine in front of you another person in the world who is presently experiencing a very similar situation, feeling the same feelings. Can you feel their fear, their pain, their desire for happiness? As you consider their feelings and their desires for healing, allow yourself to become one with them. Continue envisioning this person, and if you haven't found a person, or if the exercise is difficult, just bring to mind anyone. And now envision your own suffering as a dark substance, a black ball or black stone in your heart. And still envisioning this person in front of you, think, even say to yourself out loud, if you will, may I remove all your suffering. Envision their suffering as a gray smoke emanating from their body. As you reconnect with your breath, allowing yourself to breathe deeply, slowly, yet naturally. When you breathe in this imaginary gray smoke and direct it towards your heart, towards this black ball, black stone of your own suffering. And allow this gray smoke of their suffering that you're inhaling to dissolve, to destroy this dark black ball or stone of your own suffering. As you breathe out, imagine the light, love, compassion which you have in your heart flowing out towards this person as rays of light, rays of energy, whichever way makes it easier for your visualization. And say in silence or out loud, may I give you all my good qualities. May this light turn into whatever you might need today. Breathing in their suffering, breathing out compassion, healing your heart, uprooting, dissolving the suffering from your own heart, from your own mind. Allow a great joy to arise in your mind as you continue to be connected with this imaginary person, this person of your visualization. A great joy. Let it arise. Let it come to you. Allow yourself to dwell in it for a few minutes as we end today's meditation. Thank you for coming together today as this virtual meditation circle. Just a quick reminder that tomorrow we're going to have a lecture at 8 p.m. Eastern Time that is going to start an exploration of the concept of God throughout the ages, focusing on the biblical God, the God of Israel, and how people used to conceptualize what God is, what our relationship to the divine is. That's going to be at 8 Eastern Time tomorrow. And on Wednesday, we're going to have our Logos meditation or Lectio Divina meditation, also at 8. And so I hope to see you all there. Now, please go in peace, have a quiet rest of your day, and please stay well and be safe. Thank you.